am joined by Ryan Smith, strength and conditioning coach from University of Toronto, who is here to teach me some fundamentals on preparing for deadlift and then how to do the deadlift. So, Ryan, all yours.
Let's get started. So one of the first things we really want to do is make sure that our body's in the right position to start off. So what I like to do first is think about our shoulders. I like to work head to toe. I'll start off by thinking about doing a couple shoulder rolls. And when you find that position where it's back and down, that's where we want to be. Okay, the next thing we want to think about is our rib cage. If I'm flaring my rib cage out, we're extending our back, and this is where we get our injuries and we get that pain in the lower back. So really think shoulders back and down, rib cage, try to tuck that down. You might even feel that your core is engaged at that point. Now our whole upper body is solid.
Okay. Question on that, because I'm always giving messages to my audience to not go into any thoracic psychosis. And definitely. Most people are already here starting their day. So
what I'd say to that is the difference between me saying tuck my rib cage in is if I'm in this position like this,
so you don't want it hyper
it's too much. And at this point, this is too much as well. So it's finding that middle ground where we can really feel that our core is engaged to get that belt working.
Okay.
Right? So we still want to maintain a nice flat back. So if I'm looking in the mirror, I should see a more or less straight line down from my shoulder to hip.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
No worries. Okay, so the first thing we're actually going to do is going to be a little exercise against this wall here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is practice that what I said about shoulders. So back and down, make sure that rib cage is down so our core is engaged. We're going to hold the stick just in front of us, and keeping a slight bend in our knees, we're just going to push our hips back and try to touch our butt to the wall. The purpose of this is to try to maintain this flat back here and making sure we get in that nice hinge motion. Okay, so I'll give you how to go.
How far do you want me to start from the wall?
Let's maybe start about a feet away from the wall and see how it goes. And at any point, you can always move back or move forward depending on your flexibility. So if you get to the wall and you find that you can go further, take a little step out, again, going back down. So if you hold to this, so shoulder width. Okay, you have a nice up and inner thigh. Get those shoulders engaged, find that back and down position, tuck that rib cage. And from here, we're just going to think about pushing our hips back behind us, touch the wall. Just let your hands slide down your legs. Okay, for you, I actually just ask you to come up again and take a half step back for me, a little step back.
All being short.
Okay, so let's try one more time, exactly the same thing, okay? Get the shoulders set, engage the core, and now we're just going to push our hips back, try to touch that wall. Awesome, once you feel that, you come back up. And when you get to the top, think about, again, engaging our glutes, pushing through to the end. Okay, so all the way standing straight. Perfect. One thing I'll just say is think about our neck as well. So when we're in that deadlift position, I know you always want to look at yourself in the mirror, but sometimes you have to just keep that chin tucked and make sure we keep that straight spine. So making sure that our neck is flat.
Okay,
so let's try one more time.
Same foot.
Yeah, just make sure we have that neck engaged.
So I'll set my shoulders. So it's almost like someone's going to punch you?
Yes, exactly this feeling. Almost like you're bracing to get punched. Exactly. Okay, so again. Keeping that chin tucked. Yep.
Thank you.
There we go. And again from here, pushing our hips forward. That's a great back position right there. There we go. So this is just one way of kind of getting into motion to kind of prevent you from getting that knee bend. Because a lot of time when we're doing a deadlift motion, we'll think more of a squat. So we really want to limit that knee bend for this exercise.
Oh, so when I'm doing this, because I do have the hamstring flexibility, you're asking me not to bend my knees.
Just having a slight bend.
Oh,
right? So a slight bend in our knees, just so you know that the hamstring does some room back for this exercise.
I think I was bending my knees.
No, I think what you did was right. It's just you don't want to be more upright and then get into like a squat.
Oh, okay.
That's the difference. So that's the common thing I see a lot is when I say hinge, people will get to that squat.
Okay, so this is truly, this portion of it is the hip hinge.
Hip hinge, correct, yes. Making sure we get everything engaged.
Okay, awesome.
So let's move on to a little different topic. So I'll take this.
Thank you.
So one way to progress and learn more about the deadlift is to use a platform. So this is what limits our range. What we can do here is get into our sumo stance, so feet wide apart. Same thing we talked about, shoulders, getting that core engaged. We're going to push our hips back, pick the weight up, and then push our hips forward and again. So this is just a way to kind of get that motion that we practice against the wall with some load. Okay, so I'll give you have a try here. So you want to have the weight in between your feet. So I'm going to ask you to step forward a little more so your feet are completely through.
Oh, like?
Yep, right there. So you want to have the weight directly in between your feet so that we're not reaching out, which makes it harder on our back.
Yes.
Okay.
So kind of the garden lifts.
Exactly, exactly. So from here again, we'll start with the shoulders, making sure we engage that core, that slight tug of the rib cage, and then we're going to do the same thing we did against the wall, pushing our hips back, picking up that weight, and then coming through, pulling those hips. Perfect.
Okay.
And it's all same motion on the way down, you're just going to drop the weight. And come up. That's great.
That felt really good.
Yeah. So one thing we can do at this point is, the box might be too high for you. I would say it's too high, so I would just bring that weight onto the ground so you have that hamstring flexibility. You can get a little bit lower.
Okay. And the benefit of that is just more load time and more load to paraspinals? And
Exactly. So the benefit of having like this kind of setup is you can really judge the distance you're traveling with the weight, so that if you do reach that point where your back starts to flex, at least it's a little more controlled. And especially if you're learning, it's a great way to make sure you get that hip hinge and you're actually feeling the right muscles activated.
so there's no, okay, so I'll take it off. I'll reset.
Yeah.
It's funny because even though I hip hinge all the time, now I'm like having to think about it in a different way. So you're asking me to step out?
Yeah, so if you had it out here, we do exactly the same thing. So let's try, see how far you can go.
Okay.
So from here, you can go down, tucking that rib cage, tucking that chin. From here, and you can all the way through. Come up again. Yeah, and let's go down one more time. And really think about that brace in our stomach when we pick the weight up. Because that's the point where we're going to see you flex. So that's why I say make sure that rib cage is down, so you can feel like you have that nice belt line across our stomach.
Okay. So here, I feel I need to start bending my knees a bit.
Yeah, if that's the case, then that's fine. At that point, you're in the nice hinge position already.
Okay.
And then you can come through and push those hips forward. That's awesome.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I'll bring it back down.
Yeah, you go back down. Exactly the same thing. Okay. Looks great.
Any other preparatory things, like, you know, in terms of ensuring that you could do this hip hinge, but obviously, you mentioned transitioning from the box down. So obviously, I need to have what type of length of hamstring do you encourage your athletes to have?
Well, we always try to say whatever you have is just know where you're at and be reasonable with the actual distance traveled. So just because some people might say, for example, a squat, going all the way to the ground, like, go as low as you can. Sometimes our body isn't able to do that without curving our back or maybe our knees caving in. So we like to really preach just staying within your limits and within your range. So it's definitely a big thing and not rushing it, because if you can do the weight, you might be able to lift it up, but you might be doing it improperly. The body is very smart, it will adapt, it will find ways to get the actual load up, but it might not be correct. So that's why we really start with this kind of regressed approach, where we start off, might be easy first 2 weeks, but the goal is not just a month, it's a lifetime, or it's 10 years, right? So you want to make sure you can actually lift the whole time rather than just doing it for 2 weeks. Exactly, lifetime. So that's definitely our approach when it comes to that. And in terms of the hamstring, like I said, once you feel a nice little pull on the back of your legs, that's generally a sign that you've reached your limit. So, and again, just keep practicing, making sure you have a mirror or even a camera set up so you can see if our back's nice and flat as we go through these motions.
So you can go to the point of feeling the pull in the hamstring. Did I even shy away from that?
I would say yes, because you do want to still feel that muscle being activated and it's at its limit.
Okay.
But like I said, just staying humble and staying kind of within your ranges and your weight limits is really important, especially this movement. It can be very complex and difficult to understand, so just taking your time and going through all the progressions to make sure that you really maintain that nice hip hinge position.
So that works nicely for, if you have a barbell or dumbbell, that sits on itself like that. A lot of people that work out of their homes, like, will have block weights or maybe, the more traditional dumbbells.
Yeah, so,
any suggestions?
Yeah, definitely. So what we can do here is, most dumbbells you're able to hold both sides like this. So you can do exactly the same motion, getting that position. This time we just won't drop the weight on the ground, you just keep holding it the whole time. Okay. But as long as you remember to get those shoulders back while holding like this, that's the key thing. We don't want to see rounding, especially top to the shoulders.
Okay.
So that's be my best substitute if you don't have a nice flat weight like this.
Okay. Good suggestion. Ready to tackle?
Yeah, they're The barbell, yes.
Okay.
Let's do it. With the barbell, again, yeah, it can be a little intimidating, obviously. Like it's kind of a bigger, more intense weight. But again, we want to maintain the same principles we talked about during this whole segment. So again, we're going to start with this one. So this is your traditional kind of Romanian deadlift. So from here, we're just going to have a slight bend in our knees.
Romanian deadlift?
So yeah, an RDL. So the difference between an RDL and a deadlift is the RDL is we're a little more hamstring focused, whereas the deadlift traditionally would be with that extra knee bend.
Oh, and more.
Okay.
Then glute comes in.
Exactly, a little more glute from the drive up. So how we're going to start is we're going to start up top. Okay, make sure we get the shoulders engaged. Think about our rib cage. Think about our chin position. Same idea, hinging back. Once we reach this point where we feel a nice stretch, we're going to push our hips forward and make sure that we're using our hips to come up and not using our back. So a lot of the time, we'll just think, okay, I want to get my body into a straight position. I'll throw my back forward first. But I want you to try to shift your mindset to actually thinking about your hips.
Okay.
And the hips from here are being pushed forward, and subsequently, your back is coming up right.
Following.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay, so like this is definitely the first one I like to do with everyone, just because it's just a basic hip hinge. We're not involving the knees too much. So once we develop this pattern, then I like to start from the ground. Same approach that I have with the box. We start up high, and we work our way down low.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll get you how to go.
So I had clients send me a picture, and they had a barbell set up like this on 2 kitchen chairs.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially starting at that height.
Exactly, so essentially that was the same as our block,
Yeah.
just having the bar up a little higher.
Okay. So I'm going to bring this
Yep,
up.
so let's start with just, again, hands can be
And yeah,
about
what
shoulder
distance?
width.
Okay.
About shoulder width. You want to be comfortable, you don't want to feel like you're really far out.
And
Okay.
my feet?
Feet
Width
can-
or wider?
I like hip width, so
Okay.
hip width. Feet can be slightly angled out if you want, whichever feels natural.
Okay.
Okay. So from here again, get our shoulders engaged, thinking about tucking that rib cage, that brace position. From here, let's just slide the bar down our legs and push our hips back. Keep that chin tucked. There we go.
Thank you.
Yep. And then when you reach that limit, just think about driving the hips forward, not listening through the back.
And I noticed you did it quite explosively. I don't know if that was because you were like, let's get this over and done with, or do you want it explosive?
Just a personal preference.
Oh, okay.
So I wouldn't read too much into the speed that I did it in. Sorry about that.
Okay.
It's again just about building the confidence and repetitions with the exercise. Once you feel more confident, you can think about elements of speed. You can think about elements of maybe trying for significant weight. But at first, it's all about building the foundations, building the movement patterns. That's our main goal. Okay.
Okay. Chin.
Yeah.
Holding that orange underneath. Okay.
Again, yep, exactly like that. Pushing the hips back. Once you reach that position, just think about driving those hips forward all the way into the bar. There we go. Awesome. So for you, in this situation, if you're my client, I would definitely think about progressing. So what I'm going to walk you through is going to be the full deadlift. Okay, so from here, we still want to think about, it's still a hip dominant movement, right? So our hips are still doing most of the work here, but now we're just going to come down and then add that little bit of knee bend.
Okay.
And I want you to try to get the bar mid-shin.
Okay. So if I stood in front of that block and I could bring the bar
Yep.
down to that height?
I think that would be good, actually. Yeah,
Okay.
that'd be good. Okay.
So.
Just one thing with if you are doing something like this with the box or any
So
object
now
is
I
going
need to be here?
Exactly. So that's one thing I'd be just worried about, that you're not reaching forwards. Because again, putting a little more stress on that back.
Okay.
Okay, so that looks good to me though.
So
think
again,
about-
I'm trying to always make sure that it lands between my feet.
yes.
Okay.
Always on top of the shoelaces. Okay.
Oh,
It's a good
okay.
way of remembering it.
Over the shoelaces. Good. Okay. Here, top. I remember my
Yeah,
head.
it's all about the chin.
Holy smokes. So many things.
So many things.
Oops, see, and I'm already looking up. Okay.
So with you, I'd say you're still in a great back position at this point. So
Okay.
this range is definitely acceptable.
Okay.
So let's think about coming up now.
But I should be looking down more.
Yeah.
Okay. And then drive from the hips.
Exactly. Drive from the hips, pushing forward.
So do you tell people to think, I know internal cue for me is just squeezing my glutes.
Yep.
But
That's definitely something
a lot of people like external clues better.
Like I said, coaching, you gotta figure out what works best for your client. So
Yeah.
definitely, if the internal, I would say something about squeezing your butt. Like make sure you drive those hips forwards all the way. Some people like the analogy of like a race, a finish line. Imagine your finish line is where you started, and you have to come back and touch it. So that's the way we make sure we stay in a strong position.
That's a nice one. Okay, I like that. Okay, so one more time with my chin tucked.
Yeah,
okay,
there we go.
Down. Oh, breathing.
Breathing.
Can you talk about that?
Yes, that is definitely the next step. So again, with breathing,
was happening before,
yes. But I really like to really take an approach of making sure that everyone understands this brace, because this brace is the most important thing in anything we do in the gym. So when it comes to breathing, we want to learn how to breathe while keeping that brace. So what I want you to try is we're going to keep that nice brace we talked about, like someone's about to punch you in the stomach, nice and tight, okay? And here, big breath in the nose, and we're going to exhale fast. What that does is contract our core a little more.
Yeah.
So on the way down, nice breathe in. As you drive your hips forward, breathe out. Okay. Think about that finish line.
So the effort in the deadlift is the lift,
yes,
as opposed to the controlled lowering.
Yes. Okay. The controlled lowering, we'll be able to, again, we obviously don't want to go too fast. We won't be controlled. But at the same time, we don't want to go aggravate like really slow to the point where we're actually fatiguing our muscles a lot, especially if you're learning how to do the movement. I would start off with a tempo, if you count in your head, like 2 seconds down, maybe hold the bottom 1 or 2 seconds, and then come back up 2 seconds. So.
And oftentimes it actually starts at the bottom, doesn't it? Thinking about
yes.
It now.
Sometimes it can. But like I was saying about having the range, if we can't get down to the floor, is it beneficial to us?
Yeah.
Why not start a little higher, make sure our form is correct, and that way we can avoid any injuries or nagging, prolonged injuries over time.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. We should do one, so you don't have to keep holding the bar. So.
Thank you. All right. So I'm going to breathe in, going down.
Yep. Keep that nice core brace. Breathe in. We're going to hold for a second, and when we come up, we're going to breathe out. Push our hips forward. Great. And what it really does is make sure we can maintain that core position. Because when we breathe out, that's the hard part.
Yeah.
We don't want to lose our back position. So that's why it's
that's
breathe
where
out
the extra stability.
Forcefully breathe
okay.
out. Yes.
You want me more do the?
No, I think you did a great job. You did a great job.
Right.
So I wouldn't worry too much. As long as you know that when you breathe out, you should feel almost like your core is getting a little stronger.
Okay, awesome. So I'm going to bring this down.
Yeah,
leave
that's
it down.
fine.
Okay. Oops. Perfect.
Here we go.
So then the progression would be adding
some weight.
Okay.
Usually when we add weight on the side, it actually lifts the bar up a little bit off the ground. So it might actually be, you might actually gain a little bit of range than what you used to once you start adding weight on the side.
Okay.
Only because the bar is sitting up a little higher, just like it would on a box if you change the height. So the next step would be, again, adding those plates on the side. And again, being conservative, right? Especially at the beginning. There's no rush. So let's really focus on technique. Make sure you actually understand everything that we talked about today. Then we can see the weight go up very quickly. Once you understand and you understand the form, the load goes up a little faster than even if you were trying on your own and weren't really sure what to do.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anything else we should know about deadlifts?
I think just don't be intimidated by the barbell, but at the same time, be confident with just doing the smaller progressions. Working your way up with dumbbells first, and then going to the bar. Sometimes I feel people just rush to the bar straight away, and it's still 15 kilos, our bar is here. So it's still a weight that maybe you weren't lifting with a dumbbell. Maybe you're actually not ready for it at this moment in time, but a couple weeks of practice, working the weight up as you feel comfortable, I think that's definitely my take-home point. Yeah,
and I was finding with the barbell, just because it's a longer weight, you now have, if you have a little bit of difference in shoulder strength,
definitely.
You kind of feel that, sway a little bit more than you would with the dumbbell. But you probably don't notice it so much with your young, fit athletes.
But it is true though. That's why we definitely want to have in our minds ways to modify any activity, so anyone can do it. So there's no exercise that's strictly a barbell exercise or strictly a dumbbell exercise. They're always interchangeable. So I think just using that knowledge and just making sure that you set yourself up for success by sometimes regressing exercises to progress in the long run.
Good point. Yeah. Great. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure teaching you.
Yeah, awesome. Fun to learn it.
Thank you.